안녕하세요. Good afternoon, everyone. Magandang hapon po. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning wherever you are. Welcome to today's public lecture organized by UPKRC, UP Korea Research Center. I am Kyungmin Bae from UPKRC, and I will be your moderator for today's event. We are very much delighted to welcome everyone joining us in the safety of their homes through Facebook and YouTube live streaming. And we wish to greet everyone and hope all will have a fruitful learning experience this afternoon. This afternoon's public lecture is entitled Cultural Diversity and the Role of K-Town. In Korean title, it is read 문화의 다양성과 한인타운의 역할. So it is very much timely, and I think it will show you some interesting insights how Korea or Korean community is found in our local landscape in the Philippines. Before we begin our program, we would like to remind our viewers of some house rules. You may send your questions and comments to our guest speaker throughout the event in the Facebook or YouTube comment section, and kindly introduce yourself with your affiliation when you raise questions. And the questions will then be collected and answered during the open forum after the talk is done. And we are also reminded that the whole lecture is a safe space, and thus will not tolerate any form of bullying and trolling, academic or otherwise. So the organizer reserves the right to remove those who will create any disruption in any part of the program. This public lecture will be recorded, so if you miss any part or if you want to share this event, you can also share the link afterwards with your friends or colleagues. So let us begin. Today's event is organized in celebration of the 73rd years of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Korea. So just weeks ago, on March 3rd, 3rd of March was the official day when diplomatic ties between two countries were established. This lecture is showing you how these two countries and the citizens are really trying to form more friendship in the 21st century. So first of all, let me just introduce today's guest speaker, Mr. Ilho An. You can also refer him as Mr. J. An. He is currently the Vice President of J Vision International INC. And also, he's running a business which is the Chan Lunchbox Store. So perhaps some of you have tried out, deliver or order some Korean lunchbox from his company. And he's also belonged to several different organizations, such as Manila Koreatown Association since 2018, where he is currently the vice president. And also, he's the vice president of the United Korean Community Association from 2015 to 2021. And he's currently the advisor of UKCA. And for educational background, he had studied law and mathematics in Yeongnam University in Korea. And he did MBA in UST in the Philippines. So let us welcome Mr. Jae An, and let us hear from him. And then after his talk is done, we will start open forum for more questions and comments. So Mr. An, floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Okay. Thank you for Professor Beth to introduce me to very well to all the audience and all the students and professors. My name is Ilho An. but just call me Jay An when we meet next time outside. I'm Vice President of Manila Koreatown Association since 2018, currently now. And first of all, I would like to say congratulations, 73rd your diplomatic relations between Philippines and Koreans. It's my honor to share and speak about our Manila Koreatown. Actually, I'm not very good English, but sometimes you have to endure with me and bear for me because it's a little bit nervous, and so please understand me. Yes, my title is today cultural diversity and the role of K-Town. Because we are foreigners here, and especially many foreigners and the tourists in Manila area. That's why when I talk to the mayor of the city of Manila and suggest how we can combine and how foreigners can create more products and more celebrations and the event. That's why I just choose this title. And we have some Koreatown here in the Philippines, especially in Angeles area, and also formerly before in Makati. But I thought that there is something differences, and I think how we can make a better Koreatown and how we can proceed and develop our Koreatown. That's why I made this title today. So let's move on. So first, I will introduce our Korean society in the Philippines. After that, I can gradually explain how we can make Manila Koreatown and how we can develop our Koreatown. First, we have almost 80,100 Koreans here before pandemic, but now more than 50 Koreans already came back to Korea to avoid serious pandemic problem before in the Philippines. But now some Koreans already try to enter the Philippines because your government is already lift and accept to the foreign countries. So as you see this PowerPoint, we have 800 to 100 Koreans here in the Philippines, especially in Metro Manila. We have 50,000 Koreans. And now I think 40,000 Koreans in the Philippines because of pandemic. And almost 2 million Korean visitors every year visit to the Philippines, and 500,000 Filipinos visit to Korea. This is a really big numbers. So our 2 million tourist visitors is almost the number one ranked in the world. So second is American or Chinese. And we have a central organization. The name is United Korean Community Association. Also, we have 8 regional Korean Community Association, like Baguio and Subic, Angeles, Boracay, Iloilo, Cebu, even until Davao. And under Korean Community Association, we have also several functional Korean communities. So we are all volunteers organization here, so to prevent any accident and disasters, and to help our Koreans each others. But in the future, we need more young Koreans volunteers to help and to develop our Korean community associations. And as I told you before, we have many Koreatown here in the Philippines, and also we have many Koreatown in the world. Especially the number one Koreatown is in LA. The Koreatown was founded more than 100 years, and all major city and the big country has Koreatown. And as you can see, in Japan, Osaka and Tokyo, China, Beijing and Shanghai, and Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Now I know that Indonesia, Jakarta has also Koreatown, and Australia, Sydney, and Canada, Toronto, and Vancouver. And 2018, Brazil, São Paulo also has a Koreatown. And I try to find some specific information from this Koreatown. Even not big city, we have many community and Koreatown, but sometimes they have some relationship with the local government or the state. But this kind of official Koreatown has only MOU or resolution only. MOU meaning it's like a memorandum of understanding with the city. So sometimes this MOU can be removed, or sometimes it's not forever. But what I want to emphasize this time, Manila Koreatown is the official Koreatown from the city of Manila. So actually, I'm very proud of this. I think this is almost a first time or second time, because I try to ask and get some information from those city and the countries about the Koreatown, but they don't give us any specific agreement or any official announcement or even any newspapers. So I'm quite sure this Manila Koreatown is really first and very special Koreatown by Manila, city of Manila, because we received the approval from the city of Manila by ordinance Koreatown. So next, let's move on how we can develop and establish our Koreatown. So you can see some time flow here. Actually, 2018 we made some small community for the merchant, because so we call it merchant association, because sometimes we need to protect ourselves. We need to help each other, but the merchant owners, especially restaurant owners, cannot do everything to protect themselves, and sometimes they need some big problems, and sometimes they don't understand some documents, and they have some problem. So we think it's time to prepare and organize some specific organization or some groups to protect us. Also, at that time, many Chinese peoples occupied Malat area, so we feel something risky, or we need to protect our market. We need to protect each other, because it's like a survivor games. So we need to survive for this market. But from the beginning, when we established this Manila Korea Merchant Association, we have only 15 members. So the member is very small, and we elected only few executives. We have a president and Bong Jae-ko, unfortunately, he died last 2020 December because of the COVID-19. And I'm the one was the vice president, and still now. And we have three more directors. And every month we have a regular meeting and gathering, and we discuss about the problems, and we think how we can make better sales. Yeah, the first time, our goal is very simple. We just want to protect ourselves, and we just increase our sales and market. But suddenly we think, why don't you develop our area, not only our store? Why don't you develop our area more officially? So someone suggests that kind of agenda, and luckily we encounter one key person who is the councilor of the city of Manila, and he's really involving international relations. So he knows very well about this kind of our assignment. So he lead us, and Bong Jae-ko, the president, lead us also to apply and to make an official Koreatown, not only the merchant association. So it became a more headache, more complicated, and more documentation has to be prepared. But our will and our members really want to do Manila Koreatown. So Bong Jae-ko, the president, and I, and the board members try to find ways to meet the city of Manila officers, and also we need to visit to barangay chairmen, also invite some attorney, need some or gathering some ideas and some procedures, because we don't have any ideas about this official processing and the procedures. But we are very good, and everybody, especially barangay chairmen and the councilors, and this attorney, Filipino friends, all area friends, and also our members really support us. Sometimes it's really hard, so we want to stop, but they are always cheer to us, and until we finish this big project. So as you can see, this picture. First, this is our first meeting with President Go and me and the city attorney and some barangay chairmen. So they all agree us to make a Manila Koreatown here, and they all support. Also, sometimes through the regular meeting, we invited some counselors, and also some person from the Korean embassy, and some big company chairmen. So we need to listen some ideas and their advice and consulting. And we are good. And 2019, our former ambassador meet our city of Manila mayor, and he mentioned about the Koreatown and to be supported from the mayor. Also, one day he had a courteous call from the president, Mr. President Malacanang. In the spot, the former ambassador explained and mentioned about Malate Koreatown to all the media. So it's really boom. And aside from the many Koreans and the Korean residents here in Malate, but the local people and our Filipino friends already knew and contact this big news from our former ambassadors. So it already started officials processing. And the 2020 November 23, Mayor Isuko, City of Manila, invited us with current Consul General and President Go and me. We discussed how we can establish why he want to make a Koreatown. He asked me and asked us why he want to make a Koreatown here. So we suggest we really want to make our area is developed and more brighter, more cleaner, more clean, and more safe. And we emphasize about the cultural diversity. There are already many towns, like the oldest town is Chinatown is there in Binondo, which is the really oldest Chinese town in the world. And also Intramuros, and mayor called the Spanish town, and also Islamic town, Muslim town. So in addition, we suggest Manila Koreatown, because many Koreans already living in Malate area, and 2 million Korean visitors always visit to the Philippines, and more than half of the millions or more people always visit to Manila area. Especially, it's a really tourist zone. Intramuros, Rizal Park, and Malate, many historical places there. So finally, the Mayor Isuku really likes our plan and support us, and he want to make really creative products and invite more Korean tourists. So this is a very meaningful meeting with the mayor and our consul general. After that, suddenly Mayor Isuko spread all his plan and news to the media, not only the Philippine Star, but Manila Bulletin, everywhere. His meaningful speech is spreading. And he also mentioned about our ambassadors' conformity for the Koreatown. So even if it's not yet official designation, we thought it's almost official, and we can make it. And with this kind of a good news, we still maintained our regular meeting with more members. Before we start only 50 members, but now almost 70 members. Every regular meeting, we had an agenda, not only just for the sharing of our difficulties and report, but sometimes we made a big agenda. We try to solve the agenda together, and sometimes we called some advisor and counselors to have the best result and the answers. And after several months, after several regular meetings, we realized that we needed some more supporters and supporting from the outside, and from big person like ombudsperson or big companies chairmen, and the chairman of the Korean Community Association, co-chambers. We have several or many organizations here in the Philippines by Korean groups. So we almost all invite our chairmen at once. So we explained our plan and expected their support. They're also really happy to know that, and promised to us support. That's our big already powers. Also, currently we have new ambassadors. As long as he already assigned Philippines embassy, and he visited to the city of Manila mayor. I heard that more than half of the topic is the Manila Koreatown, and the Ambassador Kim explained and the plan for our Manila Koreatown to have the big support from the mayor. And the mayor was already know that, and he was very happy to not hesitate to support our plan to make a Koreatown, Manila Koreatown. And after this, City of Manila requests us the council hearing, official hearing, with the council members. There are 50 councillors and the international committee and the vice mayor sometimes, and all the council member and the councils want to know why we need to, or why we want to make a Manila Koreatown in Malate. So I was the representative to answer about that questions and to explain our plan and more details. Specifically, the committee and the councillors ask us why Korean want to make Manila Koreatown in Malate. So I answered them again. We really want cultural diversity, and we really want to make a tourist and the essential destination of all the tourists, and we want to make our area more clean and safe and brighter, and finally better. And we want to live a better life with our neighborhood Filipinos. And of course, we can make create more jobs and hire more Filipino people, and gathering more tourists and local persons to make a prosperity. But this one-time hearing is really not enough, because this is the first time hearing for making special nationalities town, because even Chinatown and some other nations town is not registered to City of Manila. I mean, it's not ordinance. So this is their first time ordinance Manila Koreatown. So they have many questions, and it takes quite a long time, more than 1.5 months. Need time to check everything, especially in Malate. There are so many historical things and many Bohemians, so they cannot easily point and designate it for the Manila for the Korean's town. So we really need a time to persuade, especially need to submit the exact area and the plan, and plan for the also development. So it's really hard. Anyway, after third hearing, we try to meet many councillors one by one. Sometimes we meet the committee alone, or we just organize some meeting with the barangay chairmen to support us. So that is the really big supporting. So they really understand why we want to make a Manila Koreatown. The town is not only for the Koreans, but not only for the market and the sales growth, but we just truly told them we just want to make it better. We want to make a better life with our Filipino people, because we live here already several years, not like even 1 or 2 decades. So it's like Manila and Malate is our second hometown. Yes, so luckily, January 28, 2021, 49 councillors signed for the MOA. It's already 90% passed. And then finally, Isuko Moreno, 2021, February 9, after several weeks, several days, Isuko Moreno already signed. And it's officially announced to everybody, to whole nations, and published. So we are really happy because, as I repeat and repeat, because it's almost our first Koreatown by ordinance in the world. I'm not very quite sure, but as long as I try to find this official document or documentations, I cannot hear any official proclaims. So it's very meaningful for our side. And but in the ordinance, we cannot occupy the whole Malate area as a Manila Koreatown, but the councillors and the city of Manila point only two barangay 699 and barangay 702, because still we have many obstacles. We have to check some other foreigners, especially Filipino historical area and the Bohemians. So we start only these two barangay first. But in the future, hopefully we can amend the more wider area to become already our Koreatown. So after this, we have some assignment how we can develop this area. From the beginning, we have many plans, but this is not a private assignment. It's official and it's public. So every time we need to discuss with the city of Manila, even city of barangay chairman, sometimes our embassy, and our government in Korea. But it's very encouraged to plan for our development. So we apply for some development fund from our government in Korea, and we got finally $35,000 to do something special or something symbolization event for the Manila Koreatown. But unfortunately, we have a lot of plans, but the timing is really bad. For the pandemic is already still ongoing, so we cannot do many things. And we're supposed to make some meaningful sculptures, like another Koreatown in LA and New York and Brazil. But unfortunately, we cannot discuss many times with the officially. So we can just install 청사초롱 first in the street lights. 청사초롱 is our traditional lanterns. It's so even if we don't have a special sculpture in that area, we can feel this is already Manila Koreatown. We can see the traditional lantern, especially nighttime. It's very beautiful. So This is our first project. Also, simultaneously, while processing this Manila Koreatown, we never ever stop to do something special service for our Filipino friends. Pantry, we did a pantry, Manila Koreatown pantry. We donated something quarantine products, and also we organized a restaurant week with the city of Manila. Even if we don't have any special event, we will never stop for this kind of charity project to help our people. We cannot help many people and everybody, but at least we always want to do something together with our area Filipinos and the neighbors, even other foreigners. We're always open to do this project together. Not always a project or provided from the Koreans, but always do something together with the Filipino friends, even Japanese friends. That's why we called it cultural diversity. We don't have any prejudice and discrimination. We always want to do together. We always want to develop, progress, grow together. So, nighttime when you visit to Malate area, you can see the bright traditional lantern and from the street lights. Also, we have some supporting groups called 10 Advisors of Manila Koreatown. They always support, help, because we realized that when I study about this Koreatown to many countries, especially even here in the Philippines, Makati and Angeles, Manila Koreatown itself, it doesn't exist and can make a long run because from the beginning, there is already Manila Koreatown, but without any supporting group, without any association, without any chambers, it's hard to maintain. So before making Manila Koreatown, we already organized the Merchant Association and changed the name Manila Koreatown Association. Our member is almost 70 to 80. These 70 to 80 members can maintain and lead our Manila Koreatown. Also, in addition, this 10 advisory committee will help us. Especially, we have 4 advisors from Korean side, chairman of the United Korean Community Association, chairman of Korean chambers, also director of Manila Korean Cultural Center, and one chairman of the big company. These 4 Korean advisors will always support and help us. And also we have 6 advisors, Filipino side, from the Bureau of Immigration, from Department of Department of Labor and Employment, and also police, MPD, Manila Police District, and what else? And some prosecutors and counselors. Those advisory committee really support and help us whenever we have a problem, whenever we have some event. This 10 advisors give us some ideas and help us, and financially, of course, too. So again, without this kind of firm association or any organization cannot lead Koreatown properly. That's why from the beginning, before making the Koreatown, we just make association first, and we designate the all roles and responsible things. So every time we can share to lead and to operating this Koreatown stable. Yes, so 2021 July, we have appointment ceremony Manila Koreatown Advisory Committee. So it's very honorable and thankful for them. Okay, this is the shortly I explained how we can make a Manila Koreatown establishment, and now I can give some ideas for the future plans, how we can develop our area, how we can make this Manila Koreatown known to the person and more prosperity. Yes, this is a signage. Finally, we have also first signage for the Manila Koreatown directions. Even if we don't have any special meaningful sculpture, instead we made this signage first. So this is very meaningful for our members. So hopefully many Koreans, many Filipinos, and many tourists always visit to our Manila Koreatown according to this signage, which is located along the Ross Boulevard and the Service Road. Okay, move on next. So how we can develop and make a meaningful Koreatown in our area. First, of course, we think some event, which is Danoje. Dano Festival. Danoje is the oldest and most traditional Korean festival, along with like New Year and Chuseok. It started 1,500 years ago. So we want to launch this traditional event in our town. This festival is not only for the traditional sports game, but also we can make many funny stories. We can do all together with the Filipino friends and any foreigners, most of foreigners. We can make some collaboration with them, because we always emphasize, even our traditional event, even any planned, not only for the Korean, but not only for the Filipinos, but for the togethers. We can always learn, we can always teach together. Sometimes if we can change, we are willing to accept and teach and change. So finally, we are all happy. We are all easily learn. We all easily enjoy. And also we can share our traditional cultures to foreigners and Filipinos. And sometimes we also can learn your traditional culture and plan for the Koreans and the Korean society. So first, we will have make this Danoje festival, and also in the future we also want to open Korea PR Center, and this PR Center means sometimes Filipino friends and some foreigners want to know about Korea, and they sometimes they want to visit to Korea. They want to buy something. It's not only for the Korean and the Korean culture, but through this Korean PR Center, we can share many ideas. You guys, Filipinos, can learn Koreans here. Also, some Koreans can study Tagalog, and we integrate our cultures. Because now the K-pop is very popular, Korean culture is very popular. I heard many Filipinos who want to visit Korea to see real and to taste. So we can give us some ideas through this PR center, and they can practice something. And also, we want to our area very bright and very safe. So in the future, hopefully, we want to make a CCTV integrated control center. So we can make a zero crime. We can make a very safe area. Then more tourists will visit us. Yes, and also we want to make our area more clean. So we will we want to put some separated trash bin, and we can reuse, and we can give a good ideas and manners to make a more clean for our area. And hopefully we can add more street lights and more brighter LED. So finally our area will be more brighter, more clean, and more safe. And also water supply project, because sometimes we have we can experience lack of the waters, even not only for the restaurants, but also personally needed. So in the future, we want to provide a K-water service for the lack of the water, and sometimes we can use this this water for the fire area. And in addition, we want to find some scholar students, not only poor students, but sometimes who is willing to study, and who is really want to learn Koreans, and who really want to do effort and service for our area. Then we plan for giving some scholarship to continue their study. We already give one time, but we continually do this project for our neighbors. And we will not stop. We will not stop some other charity service and project like Manila Koreatown Pantry, and some quarantine disinfection products providing. And also this year we have some plans, but hopefully we do as many as we planned, because there is a domestic election. That's why we cannot make as many festivals or celebration and plan. But we still want to do some small plan by our Manila Koreatown, like a cooking class. Every month, we point one area or one restaurant, and we set all the materials, everything. So we want to teach some simple Korean menu to the Filipinos. Sometimes they not only they like the Korean food, but also sometimes they want to learn how to cook. So this is also one of our simple project. And this scholarship, and after election, if we can, we want to make a K-pop singing contest with United Korean Community Association. So this is, we have also many plans, but our Manila Koreatown is not organized by a private and only Korean side and our government or United Korean Community, but our town is established and announced, proclaimed by City of Manila as a ordinance. So before proceeding any project and event, we always need to discuss the City of Manila and need their help and support. So after election, hopefully, we will launch. We will do more event. Yes. Finally, lastly, I would like to share what is the role of the K-Town? What is our responsible for this Manila Koreatown? I simply I can say Manila Koreatown is not only for the Koreans, not always for the event and some celebration, but through this Koreatown, we want to make a better life like this. The universally known role of the Koreatown is to inform the country of Korea's culture and the products in terms of the public and private diplomacy, as well as gather and comfort the local compatriots. However, this is a very formal and superficial appearance. The external and internal appearance that K-Town should pursue is understanding. You and I will meet and show each other and talk each other, understand each other, and eventually become friends. In this process, the product and the culture is an excellent means of the understanding each other. We want to learn and teach, integrate, and create together. Not for the Koreans, not for the Filipinos, not for any other specific foreigners, but always together. Therefore, the ultimate role and the purpose of Manila Koreatown is to develop win-win together. We have to win together. You and I are about acknowledging and understanding diversity beyond the differences and the discriminations. It seeks external and internal mutual development and growth. And finally becomes a role model of a life for each regions. Actually, even though we have the Manila Koreatown, there is a Manila, but hopefully many regions, many states want to make this kind of a town and become role model to develop together. Even though the name is Koreatown, but it means not always only for the Koreans, but for everybody. I hope you understand what I mean, because my English and my professional speech is not really enough. So I'm very sorry to you and our association, but hopefully, I hope you understand what I want to relay and deliver my message for this Manila Koreatown. Thank you so much, and thank you for participating my simple speech. I hope you are always safe, and you sometimes you visit to Manila Koreatown and give us any good ideas, and we always react to your good ideas, because it's our only starting, so we still have to do many things, not only event and the celebration, but also we have to think how to develop our area. And finally, this town, like a smart town, this town finally will give a good positive impact to other city or barangay or municipality. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
감사합니다, 부회장님. Thank you so much, Vice President An, or you can also refer him as Mr. J. And I think this was really very insightful, because although lots of Filipinos are familiar with Korean culture, like Mr. J mentioned, like K-pop or Korean drama, even Korean food, not everyone is really aware how many Koreans are living in the Philippines and why there are so many Koreans living in the Philippines. But I think the first part of his presentation really showed there are so many Koreans, and in fact they established this community officially in the city of Manila. So I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to holistically understand Koreans and Korean community in the Philippine context. So we have a few questions so far received from our audience. So I will just read the questions one by one, and then we can have ample time for Mr. J, so he can answer some with some extra information if he has some other insights. So let us first go with Juna's question. I'm Juna Caesar from the PUP, Department of Communication Research. I would like to confirm if the Manila Koreatown accepts Filipino volunteers from other cities. And if yes, if Manila Koreatown Association accepts Filipino volunteers, what kind of work can they do as volunteers?
Thank you, Jonas. Yes, of course. We always welcome for the volunteers. Sometimes, not only for the event and the celebration, we need some manpower, and because we always encounter some. We always encounter and meet Filipinos, especially, but our members and especially our Koreans cannot speak Tagalog very well. So sometimes even if we speak English, sometimes we have a communication problem. So they can be our good interpreter. And also, we are just Koreans. We are just Koreans. So sometimes we exactly don't know what Filipino want and what they needed. So that's very good ideas if they help us as volunteers to give us some good ideas. And that thing is very important. Sometimes we need a manpower as interpreters. Also, we need their ideas as a Filipino friends to give proper answer or proper needed.
Yeah, so since Jonas is from PUP, a college student, maybe you can also help mobilize other Filipinos who might be interested in the future activities of this Manila Koreatown Association. Thank you for your question, Jonas. Shall we go for next question? This is multiple questions, so we will break down into maybe 3 parts. But Mr. J can answer the first question first. So the first question from Ms. Jeanette Espinosilia is, first, what was the most difficult hindrance to establish a Koreatown in Manila? So what were the biggest challenges for you?
Yes, it's really official process. So we need to prepare many documentations, and not only verbally, but we need to prepare the many documents. We have to prepare some corporate sec, and we have to submit official plan. Honestly, I planned 30 to 50 pages of planning papers to submit our embassy and the city of Manila. Finally, we explained those plans while hearing. Yeah, the paperwork is very hard for me and for us. And the second, uh, the 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 council members and the councilors always ask us what area exactly, and what purpose do you want to make a Manila Koreatown. So it's hard to persuade them, explain them. Sometimes they understand our plan and the purpose. But some counselors doesn't understand, because if we made the area, they think this is only for the Koreans, and they think other foreigners will complain, even Filipinos will complain. This is our territory. Why you give this territory to the Korean area? Actually, of course, it's a Koreatown, but of course it's not our territory. Of course it's a Filipino territory, but the name is only Manila Koreatown. So it's hard to explain and persuade and give some confidence for them. So we just tell them it's a cultural diversity, and the diversity will create more positive things and more job create, and we can make a better area. So we have to submit many ideas and many papers how we can develop that area, how we can change the place like a smart town and more bright and clean and something like that. That thing's very hard to explain and persuade and confidence.
Yes, so I think her second question is almost same as the question from Miss Pam Hakar. So I think we can just ask Mr. J the same question. So is there any plan to establish another Koreatown in other areas in the Philippines?
This is not franchise. We don't have any other plan to make another Koreatown in another area, but we want to make our Koreatown very nice, and this is not really big, but we can show them this area really is really developed. We really changed now, not only appearance but also internally. So when the visitors visit to our town, they can enjoy, they can learn, they can find something. So it's like a special area. We always want to make a special area, special town. So hopefully some other regions or municipality or barangay learn something about us in like a benchmarking. That's why, and lastly, I said our town, the purpose of our town will be the role model of another city or another village. Because Malate has a little bit notorious, many crime before, and someone said it's dirty and very dark. That's why it's like a new village movement. So we will change little by little, and finally, some city or municipality will see, after establishment of Manila Koreatown, totally changed. Now very safe, very bright. Many people's always there. So we the Filipino friends and foreigners and Koreans grow together. So that means role model for those cities.
Yeah. So let's get back to the question of Ms. Pam Hakar. Will there be any events in the future by Manila Koreatown? Because you just showed how you are planning to organize Tano Festival. But if you are considering any other future events, maybe you can share.
Actually, we already submitted our future plan to government and many persons, but unfortunately, we cannot proceed and do right away because of the national election on May. So after May, hopefully we can proceed. The big event first, Korea and Philippine Korea K-pop festivals. We expect on September or October. This is the big event for this year. But monthly, we also organize the cooking class. Anybody want to learn Korean food, simply kimbap, tteokbokki, or kimchi. So we will launch and can teach every month. And also we will ongoing for the scholarship program every month or every semester or every 6 months. We choose 10 or 20 good students and they give some scholarship. Yeah. And finally, the scholarship students can support our Koreatown as interpreters and or some like bridge roles. And also we have a more plan and project, but I think this is not for this year, but in the future, as I spoke to you, the Dano Korean Traditional Festival for 3 days in Manila area, and also Street Korean Food Festival in BGC Global City. And we also want to put some separated trash bin, and we also want to put more street lights. Yeah, some plans and the Korean language school, but it's just a plan only. But we are not yet confirmed when we can proceed this plan. We have to see the election. Also, we have to coordinate with the city of Manila always. We cannot proceed event. But of course, I forgot to tell you again, the pantry, Manila Koreatown pantry will proceed every 3 months or every 6 months. That time we need many also volunteers.
So, so how can some people join the cooking class? Is there any registration link or application fee?
Yes, Professor. This is our first time, not yet experience. So I think we can do this coming April, and we will make our poster. Will promotion to all our Facebook and even website and United Korean Community website too. So hopefully we always engage with your group. Then whenever we have some event, we can post the right way, so they will not miss it.
Yes, I think this is really an exciting news, especially for Filipinos who really love Korean food and who
Yes.
want to experience Korean cooking. So let us look forward to some news from Manila Koreatown Association. So we have a few more questions we haven't answered previously. So I will just go back to the questions of Miss Jeanette. This is not about Manila Koreatown, but she's wondering if there could be any possibility to create Filipino town as a counterpart of the Koreatown in Manila. Do you think in the future there will be an official Filipino town in Korea?
Filipino town in the Philippines.
Yeah, in Korea, just
In
like Manila
Korea.
Koreatown in the Philippines.
I think this is my personal idea. I think
Yes.
this is very possible. We have a Chinatown in Korea, especially Incheon area, and now I know many Filipino family in Korea, and even workers. So more than 100 Filipinos in Korea now. So this is very possible to make a Filipino town in Korea. So I think yes, I know that they have their own community already, and that they are buying and selling for their own products, and they have their own community. So if who can lead the group and organize, then I think they can make a Filipino town officially. But of course, as I told you, not only uh, the name is not very really important, but before making the official town, they have to be together, and they have to make their own community and the association, and they have to have a strong responsibility to maintain the town, not only for the moment but forever. Yes, so that thing is very important. They have to gather one team to operate the Filipino town.
Yeah, I think what Mr. J mentioned is very crucial because we all know there are so many Filipinos living in Korea. Some are working, some have married, and they raise Korean Filipino families. But what really matters is the strong community and strong solidarity that can really tie all together in Korea. So during the presentation, Mr. J also mentioned paperwork is so much and it's very difficult. So I think Miss Jeanette is curious if Filipino community also want to officially establish a Philippine community or Philippine town in Korea. I think the key leaders in Korea should really work together, and we
Yes,
really
yes.
hope to see that. Yeah. Maybe one last question from Miss Jeanette, because she also asked what are your hopes and aspirations from Filipinos in terms of involving in Manila Koreatown, the newly established community. So what do you, not really expectation, but what do you look forward to from Filipinos
Filipino.
to participate in Manila Koreatown?
Uh, yes, that's meaningful question, because our people, Korea, is very limited in our area, even in the Philippines. So this town or our life is not for the Koreans. We don't too much rely on Koreans, and even if we have some special event and any any project, we always want to support and deliver from Filipino friends. Without their help and assist or uh, supporting, we cannot do anything. So if we go right way, proper way, they always support us and cheer to us. But if we have something wrong or wrong way, or then they want us to we want to listen uh, proper ideas or just some suggestions. So uh, hopefully many Filipino acknowledge our Manila Koreatown, and always has many concern about our plan and the people and support us. That's more important. Then because we always want to share. We always want to know what our friends, Filipino friends, needed or wants, and what they do. So again, so we can develop our town, or our we can make our better life. Yes.
Yeah, I think he really summed up what and how Koreans and Filipinos can really work together. And I think since this Manila Koreatown in Malate area is the brand new, although there used to be so many Korean businessmen existing running their businesses, this is really officially the first time that Koreatown was established with the help of the city government. So it should really be work hand in hand and work by both parties. So thank you so much, sir, for answers. And then we have just some comments to deliver to you. Dr. Eunhee from Seoul National University also mentioned, thank you for your big efforts and the Koreans in Manila for establishing Manila Koreatown. So maybe in relation to comments of Dr. Maybe I can also ask, sir, if you are also maintaining any ties with other Koreatowns in other countries. Do you have any interactions or exchanges with other Koreatowns in other countries?
We don't have, but I felt that we have to do, because we have a Korean community association in the world. They have their interchange, and they have their own communication. But Koreatown doesn't exist yet. So I think in the future, if we share with the other and another Koreatown, then I think it's a very nice and much better. Sometimes we don't know how we can lead and operate Koreatown, but another Korean town like LA and New York, it's already existed a very long time. I think they have many ideas how they can gather or develop the society. So we really want to learn their uh, project and operatings. I mean.
Yeah, and UPKRC also hopes to keep these close ties with Manila Koreatown through this first partnership in today's webinar. So we can also closely keeping in touch with you and your association, and also we can join as a volunteer or as whatever means we can really help in the future. Thank you
Yes,
so
yes.
much for answering
Thank you.
several questions from our audience. So, for with this, we will wrap up the open forum. But before we go to closing ceremony, let me just quickly call Dr. Bubbles Asor, who can give a short comment on today's webinar and also her personal insights on Manila Koreatown. Since Dr. Bubbles' specialty also includes migration, especially Koreans in the Philippines and Filipinos in Korea, I think she has a few words to share with us today. So, Dr. Bubbles, you can have a few minutes.
Sorry. Yeah, I hope I can be heard now. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I want to thank you. Thank you, Dr. Be, for this invite to give the close and to give a few words about Mr. An's presentation today. And first and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. An for this very, I must say, very sincere and information-rich presentation for us Filipinos. Not many of us, we know that Koreans are here in our midst, in our society, but we have not many Filipinos, except if you're studying it like me, not many Filipinos really know what's going on. So this is a very, very insightful for us. I'm sure many Korean study students, researchers, and the Filipino public in general are very interested to know more, and they're very happy to have heard your presentation today. I will give the closing remarks by identifying three salient points that I gathered from Mr. An's presentation, which I think are very noteworthy, very notable, and weighty for further discussions, not just academically, but also policy-wise, and also in the interest of the public. First is the cultural and urban diversity. Many Filipinos think that this country, this society is very hospitable, very open. So I think this space, this Manila Koreatown as a space, as a economic space, as a public space, as a semi-public space, or as a cultural space, or even as a political space, will be a kind of test for a society like the Philippines, to test its openness, to test its acceptance for the others, for the strangers, for migrants in general. Although many Koreans have been here for many years, 20, 30, even 40 years, but not many, they may not have a very meaningful and very deep relationships with many with the local population. So cultural diversity, I must say, can be considered, for example, in many ways. Intermingling, the co-presence. This is what I study for Filipinos in Korea. What do we mean by intermingling? It could be the accidental encounters. You meet them, you bought some Korean noodles from them, you say 안녕하세요, you say 감사합니다, and that's it. That's the end of the relationship. There's also these meaningful interactions which may lead to very persistent and sustainable relationship. And that is the missing point here. And I must also say that I'm a Goffmanian, a sociologist. For him, the encounters can be divided into what we call as accidental, the one that I mentioned, the hi, hello, or just looking at through the eyes, and a purposeful. These purposeful encounters can also be subdivided into two more ways, the unofficial and the official ones. The many Koreatowns around the world that Mr. An mentioned may be unofficial, but the one that he wanted to work on with his organization is the official space, which for me as a scholar, as a migration researcher, is very interesting, that to push for an official space. Why do we need to push for an official space? Because as Mr. An provided for us, it's persistent, it's more helpful and beneficial for them, but at the same time, the public, the local population, for us Filipinos, may also benefit from it. Right. The next one is the role of migrants in this, what I call the urban diversity and cultural diversity. Not many people really think about migrants. I love studying about migrants because I believe they are one of the most agentive, what do we say, agentive, very independent, very autonomous, but very dynamic. Why are they very dynamic? They can work hard and they can have their own businesses and they can employ people. And they can generate jobs, just like the Koreans in the Philippines, which we would call as the migrant entrepreneurs. The migrant entrepreneurs play a very huge role in facilitating cultural and urban diversity. According to the works of Zlotnick, the entrepreneurs create their own jobs. So they are not, I must say, they do not rely on our Philippine government for anything because they have their own jobs. They're creating their own source of income. Migrant entrepreneurs also provide goods and services that cannot be found in the Philippines, but they can only be provided by them. For example, your favorite food, your favorite cosmetic products, although there are now online products, but it may still be cheaper if you buy them from here. Migrant entrepreneurs can also generate additional employment for the host country like the Philippines. Plus, very importantly, they can promote trade between two countries. Entrepreneurs also has, they have this sense of independence among them. That's why, because they're very independent, their free time and their extra income, they can provide and give social services, and such as the community pantry or the help that they extend to the Manila residents. They can also the enterprises or the businesses of migrant entrepreneurs usually are located in what we call as ethnic enclaves. We have seen this in Pampanga, in Cebu, and even in Baguio before, and now here in the Malate area. They can contribute to the cohesion of the society. Although Mr. An mentioned, at the beginning, the Manila government was trying to really grill them and asking them, what is this space about? It may lead to, social territories and boundaries. But the truth of the matter is that they can actually provide for cohesion. And this cohesion may come from these meaningful, persistent, and sustainable relationship between migrants and the local population. And also, I think I have said enough, and I hope that the Philippines will take this seriously, whether this is the unofficial space, the official space, but the more meaningful spaces that can lead to meaningful social relationship. And when I say meaningful social relationship, this does not mean to be very long-term. Meaningful social relationships can be just like, scholarships. It can be Professor Best's relationship with Koreatown, for example, those kinds of relationship which can provide for more avenues and opportunities for both groups, and not just these groups, but also the other people, not just Filipinos, not just Koreans, but also for us to test our openness to differences, to test ourselves in terms of how do I treat other people because they are different from me. So I hope I can close this event and this webinar with on that note. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bubbles. And I think with Bubbles, a few closing remarks, this public lecture became high-end public lecture with more insights from the perspective of sociologists. So this is officially to conclude today's event, and thank you so much everyone for joining us today. So for other updates or future events of UPKRC, please visit our Facebook page or our website, and you can also check out our YouTube channel time to time, so you can also later on access the recording of today's lecture. So since March is very meaningful month for us to celebrate the friendship between the Philippines and Korea, we have one more lecture coming up. So the next one is the title is Multilingualism in Advertising. So this will be done by Mr. James Dominic Manrique, and his research will focus on the Korean language and its presence in Philippine advertisements. So this will be on March 24, Thursday. I think the time is not yet certain, but we will surely update you through our Facebook and website. So we hope to see you again in our future events, and thank you so much everyone, and have a safe and happy Monday ahead, and 감사합니다. 마raming salamat po. See you soon.
Thank you. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네.